Good morning, my friends, and welcome to the Space Game Junkie Podcast. I, as always, am your co-host, Brian, and joining us, as always, is your co-host, Jim.
Another visitor. Stay a while. Stay forever. Did you ever play Impossible Mission when you were a kid?
No.
The game was awesome. Just
We
saying.
need to talk about the Warriors after the show, by the way. We need to talk about that, because I finally saw it. We are Sans Hunter today, no Hunter, because one, it's an early morning podcast,
He's owned.
and he just got married. He just got married this past Saturday.
Not owned, married. Really wet.
So now I'm the only non-married co-host of this podcast. So that's funny. But we have a guest this morning joining us all the way from Croatia, developer of the early access space shooter thing, RPG thing. It's called Zotrix. Vedran Klanac. Welcome to the show, Vedran.
Hi guys, hi everybody, and thanks for having me with you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I mean, one of the big things about this podcast is getting visibility of indie games to people who might not have seen them before. And I wanted to talk about that beforehand, because I have to apologize. Before this hit Steam back in February, I think you said, Jim, right?
February 18th.
Before this game hit Steam in February, I had never heard of it. I apologize for that. Now, is that because it wasn't anywhere to be seen, or is that because it wasn't really visible until it hit Steam?
Well, basically, we had a Greenlight campaign. So actually, this is a game who passed the Greenlight.
Oh, congratulations! And I didn't see it in Greenlight either. Oh, I'm such an asshole. Okay.
Well, that maybe doesn't have anything to do with you. It's more about the visibility of the Greenlight in general. I mean, we started Greenlight somewhere in October last year, and it took us 52 days to get the votes and greenlit. So we were greenlit somewhere a little bit before Christmas.
Wow.
Yeah, that's actually a lot faster than average, right? Because I think
great.
the average is around 200 days or something.
Really?
It's tough, man.
Oh my god.
You know, one thing that really changed everything for a lot of people, and I think he got in at the right time because his went pretty quick, was whenever Valve changed the policy about you couldn't shill out free copies of your game for votes on Greenlight.
Yeah, it's
because I noticed that the scale shifted right then because I was watching the graph, right, and it changed the game for the honest developers.
Well, that's 52. That's pretty great. 52 days. That does seem pretty. That does seem pretty. I mean, we've seen other games get greenlit in like 2 days, 4 days, but a lot of games, the bulk of games seem to take a good while to go through the process. So that's great. But I guess that brings me to one of my questions. How do you deal with visibility issues via Greenlight and Steam? Because I'm sure when this first hit Steam, I saw it, other people saw it. But what happens? What do you do to keep visibility as good as possible when you're not on the front page anymore?
If you get somebody who knows how to deal with that, send them my way. Honestly,
I'm sure if he looked at his graph and showed us, it's like the first few days when you're on Steam, when you're in Greenlight, you're on the front page, right? And you have this giant spike of people seeing it,
right?
And then it just kind of goes like a ski slope because as soon as it gets off the front page, because a lot of people just don't go past that. So
yeah, totally. It's very much like that. On the Greenlight, we actually engineered our campaign in a way. How are we going to approach the people to get votes? And it did work. The thing is that you see a clear effect on your on whatever activity you're doing. Simply just by getting votes. And basically the same thing is when you have a game who's already selling, be it in early access or in a full release. So there's one key point which is important to understand. So, for example, any people who are either developers who are trying to pass the green light, or whoever has a game on Steam, can have a very good piece of advice, and that is that marketing outside of the Steam ecosystem really either doesn't work or really gives you a bad or no result. So in other words, like, you can have a community on Facebook, but you're not gonna convert them to Steam.
Yes.
Absolutely. It absolutely doesn't work. We made a whole strategy that we're gonna test, for a few days, Facebook campaigns and all this, and then just observe what's gonna happen. Result, nothing. Twitter, nothing. And then we started contacting people over the groups and whichever way throughout the Steam, within the Steam, and that started giving a result. And then it took us very quickly to figure out, to push the right buttons, and there you go.
I gotta be honest with you. It took me a little while, and I'm still wrapping my head around that Steam is its own social network.
Yeah, it is.
Well, the thing
that is the whole point. That is actually the whole point, which a lot of developers absolutely don't understand. The Steam is actually a social network.
Well, when you're a developer, right, you get to see whenever how many people actually landed on the page, and then how many people voted, and whether they voted up or down, right?
Oh, they give you all that information?
Oh yeah, they give you. They're all about analytics. They give you a lot of graphs and stuff.
Oh,
right?
great!
If you go into Google's backend on your YouTube videos and look, you get the same kind of info out of Steam.
Oh, that's great. Because YouTube gives you a lot.
You get a crazy amount of stuff. But what I noticed in there is, we would get a write up on Space Sector, or Tech Raptor did an article, or whoever, right? Like, a fairly popular site that's targeted on the genre, like him coming here on the show. And, it's like if every single listener that we have went there, it would be just like a little tiny couple pixels uptick on the graph.
Really?
But if you hit something in Steam where it takes off, or a curator points at you or something, then you get a giant spike. And so it's almost like the video game press is irrelevant now. It's done. Right? Like we have fun doing it, but
so why are we doing this then? Why are we doing this?
Because it's fun.
Well, basically because I'm drinking my afternoon coffee and you still didn't get yours.
That's not fair. I need coffee right now. So bad. No, that's okay, guys. It's 6 in the morning here, and I like to call it pre-caffeine, and it's not. I'm not the best when I'm in pre-caffeine mode. I'll just tell you that right now.
Yeah.
So,
but he's 100% correct though, that you could get like front page of PC Gamer, and you'll see a little spike, but it's nothing compared to if you get coverage inside of Steam.
See, that's kind of fascinating, because does that mean people like to stay within the bubble that is Steam?
Yeah.
Is that what that means?
Not just that. What I personally see is, and I'm seeing that all the guys who are journalists and people who are making, marketing effort in a traditional way, let's say in traditional digital channels, if they want to start making some business or keep business with the Steam games and all that, they will have to find a way how they're doing it within the Steam. Because otherwise, I can see that developers will not care about the reviews on the websites or articles like you mentioned, Jim, like whatsoever. It's like literally like, why would I, try to spend the time to get to some whichever very good and famous guy in I know I'm not gonna now mention any portals, but let's say, okay, you already mentioned PC Gamer. Like, first, I have a difficulty even to reach to the guy because he's piled up with emails. Second thing, I'm like some kind of indie developer he never heard of. Like, who am I that he's gonna read my email? And I'm gonna catch his attention like, no way. And why am I gonna bother him with that? Even when I reach to that point, he writes an article and I see no effect or little effect. I can understand that I can see the effect in the long term. Yeah, that's great. But basically certain things what you can do within this Steam ecosystem is something that's much more worth the effort and the time and the energy that you're investing in just to gain the visibility for your game.
So what do you specifically do in the Steam ecosystem? Is it like start your own forum? Do you go into other message boards, or what is it that you do?
All of that and much more. It basically it's I'm going to compare this to something else. It's like it's very hard to describe. It's like kind of like an underground thing, It has all kind of, let's say, it has a number of subcultures, or if you call it that way, or groups. You have like a group of 10,000 people and they're playing Minecraft, and then if you manage to hook up with the moderator of that group, and he, is willing to somehow put your game or your name somewhere in his comments, which are read and followed by thousands of guys up there, if you manage to, it's literally about building relationships with the key people who are influencers within the Steam. The guys who have 5,000-10,000 followers or even more or less, it doesn't matter. And it's about making a whole series of relationships like that and maintaining them with whichever ways, there are all kind of stuff what people do there. What I see, it's very popular, like trading whichever items. People are, they're constantly, offering Steam keys for some games. So you're exchanging Steam keys for something. I give you this Steam key for this game. You gave me this, and stuff like that. It's literally like some kind of exchange in a way that it gains you. Experience points in that whole system. So practically, it's like an RPG of its own. So you're building your character, and your character is indie developer. And the more experience points you have within the Steam, within exchanging whichever thing and stuff with other people, you get more experience points. The more experience points you have, somehow sales of your game, just goes up. It's kind of a weird thing, but that's what it is.
Well, and that was one of the things that Valve addressed, like what I was saying before about developers giving away keys of their game that's in the Steamlight process, or Greenlight process rather, where it's like they promise keys ahead, and it's like, well, if you go in this forum and you post that you voted, or whatever, it's like, I'm going to take everybody that posts in here that says that they voted, and I'll just give them a copy of the game for free for doing it, right? And it's like, yeah, you give away, a few thousand copies of your game, but you get greenlit in like days, right? But that Valve was like, well, that's kind of jostling the system. That's not our intent, right? Because we wanted people to vote for things that they like. But yeah, that kind of stuff was totally going on in there, and like what he was saying about just your popularity in general in there too, and God forbid like somebody like Total Biscuit or one of the curators actually mentions you. It's like, it's one thing if they do it on Twitter, but if they do it actually in the curator feed, then you're just going to blow up at that point. So yeah, and I need to figure out how to get us mentioned. I haven't yet. Maybe I need to bribe. I don't know. But anyway, yes, it's a weird underground thing. But it's kind of concerning too, because then that makes those certain individuals in Steam into gatekeepers of popularity. Then, right? So you have to know who to go to.
Yeah, exactly. And it's totally. I already have like a couple of contacts that just by measuring the magnitude of effect of what those people do after I have a chat with them. It's you figure out like, oh, this guy, he can do shit, it's interesting, and it's just a name on your friends list. You have no idea who that person is, whatever that is. Where is he from on the planet? You have no idea. You just have your chat text written in the chat window. You talk about something, and it's totally weird. It's actually a little bit surreal, honestly.
Right. So I'm playing the game now, and I gotta say, one thing I'm finding a lot of enjoyment with these days, for some reason, are space shooters that aren't just a series of linear missions, but have kind of a meta game to them. Like there's a meta game like gathering resources and upgrading your ship, and that's one thing that got me immediately interested in this game. Was that when you complete a mission, you get resources that you could use to buy upgrades and such. So let's talk about the game a little bit. How long have you been working on this? Like, when did it start? And
we made a prototype of this game in 2013 for Christmas.
Okay.
And it was actually, we started developing the whole concept of the game much earlier. Maybe almost 2 years ago, but then it was sitting in a drawer because we're actually a developer who does a lot of work for hire, so that's what actually keeps us alive and pays the checks. So and then at one point, somewhere in September, October last year, we decided to continue with this, and practically we hammered out a playable demo and a couple of levels that we just used for the Greenlight. And basically we made the whole game from like mid-December to mid-February.
Oh, okay. Now, basically this game, right now, every mission I have, you're protecting like this cargo ship right here. And you're protecting it from this onslaught of enemies. I wanted to talk to you about, but that's so far. But I want to talk to you about the controls too, because I'm still getting used to this. It's a little different than what I'm used to in a space shooter with the specific cursor. You have to point the specific cursor to really hit them hard. It seems.
Yeah, have you played Geometry Wars any?
Me? No.
Yep. Oh, you should.
Is that similar to this?
Yeah.
Oh, that explains
it's got
it.
the same kind of thing going on. It's just a. Did you like Tempest?
Love Tempest.
Tempest this is like basically like a first-person shooter thing from a top-down view.
Oh, okay.
So it's you can relate to it rather to that kind of thing,
Yeah, what this game actually reminds me of, and my wife was watching me play it last night, and she thought it was really cool. So I'm gonna probably have to get her a copy of it. But it reminds me of like a weird marriage of Galaga with Smash TV. So,
okay, I could see that.
The old twin stick shooters. Now I haven't tried the gamepad controls yet, but is it dual stick with the gamepad?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah. And I actually I have to admit I prefer it more with the mouse and keyboard myself. I've tried both. And I prefer, but it's nice to have the option. Now, here's the
other thing is, did you ever play an old arcade game called Gyrus?
Oh hell yeah, years ago. But
this reminds me of Gyrus too, because it's like you have so many jumps to the planet, and but it's got a little RPG going on because you can level up your stuff.
That's right, so,
it's a mash of like everything that's good.
And so here's kind of what I'm liking. When you complete a mission, you get money and you get resources, but like you don't get, unless you kill everyone, you don't get all the money and all the resources that are potentially available for that mission. So you really got to kick a lot of ass, which I like. But then you could buy more resources and trade more resources. So you have kind of a trading game going on as well. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. That is the whole point. And not just that. If you can please go to Trade Resources screen, that's so I can show you a couple of things there.
Right.
There you go. So here are a couple of things. So what you have on the left side is where you have this little grid. That's actually those are all space stations within the network. So when you can click on any of these space stations, and you can actually examine the prices on other space stations. So you can actually see what are the top tradings and lower prices on every of these space stations, which basically you can compare them to the prices on your current space station, which is, that information is in a lower part. And this is a part where you can actually strategize what is the next space station you really, maybe would like to get in order to get like a best price for certain resource when you get there. And then when you in a mission control screen, when you're choosing your mission, you can decide, okay, I want to go this way because I know that I'm going to come to the next station where I can get nickel or iron or indium at a much better price, and that's what I need. For example, when you go to the upgrades to the upgrade or equipment store, where you can figure out that you need exactly that element, that resource for purchasing your better ship, your some other upgrade. Or actually, we're not going to call that upgrade anymore. We figure out that from the feedback from the community. That's gonna get renamed in. It's not upgrades. It's gonna be renamed to equipment.
Okay.
Apparently, players had really an issue grasping the whole idea about those upgrades being, how should I say, spendable. Because what we realized that the word upgrade really,
that means something more permanent. Means something.
Exactly. Puts an expectation in front of the player that it's something of permanent. So it was brought to our attention by a couple of players that actually how come that these upgrades vanish after your mission? So it's actually going to be equipment. So I think it's going to be explained in a much better way.
Okay, yeah, because I ran into that same issue. Like, I bought a missile, I didn't use it, I died. I'm like, where'd my missile go? I ran into that.
Yeah, but actually, your missile, as you can see, it's still there in your.
Well, that's because in this particular instance, this was like last night when I was playing. This particular instance, I completed the mission and didn't use a missile. That's why I still have one.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So basically, you not only have we'll say like you have an equipment game going, you have a resources game going, like a trade game going, which is awesome. Now I wanted to ask about the missions and the map. So this is you have all these stations in a network,
right.
And which station you're on determines which missions you get.
Exactly.
And how difficult they are. So you got to kind of fight your way to a more difficult station to get more difficult missions. Now, are these missions randomly generated? Are they pre-made? Because I like how you can take them in a non-linear fashion, but I'm curious as to what...
They're actually all pre-designed.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, we still do play with the idea, and that is one of the original ideas we had in early stage of the game design, to have one either game mode or I'm going to reveal something which might come up as a DLC, and that is procedurally generated missions, and we would like to do that for a multiplayer mode.
Oh, okay.
But that's potentially a plan for the DLC or something like that.
Oh, okay. That's cool, because I love procedurally generated stuff. It's like a huge thing for me.
So here on the map screen, there are a couple of things that you may notice. For example, when you swap between the stations, you can notice the routes. So it's actually how the stations are connected. Now, you can check this little number within the rectangle. Yeah. As you can see immediately what's going to be reward for that mission without going to this screen. And so the rewards which are displayed here are also displayed when you roll over your mouse over that little rectangle there. And
right.
another thing is you immediately on the map screen you immediately see that is actually a level of difficulty for the mission.
Right.
So for example, these are the difficulties for mission number 3, a level difficulty 3. So if you're early in the game, you probably don't want to go to a mission which is of difficulty number 8.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw one of those earlier, and I'm like, no, we're not doing that. But I do like the non-linear thing. Like I could choose to go to Barthon or Mendez, and I like how each mission has a bit of flavor text to it. You know, I like that. I do enjoy that. So we're gonna start a new mission. Let's give that a shot. We're gonna move you over there. Okay. Now I like how some things do stick with you, like the shield I bought seems to stick with me. Yeah. Which is pretty cool.
If shield doesn't get destroyed, it goes with you. The same thing is with the drone units. Once you purchase a drone, or even if you purchase, thing is that some of these upgrades or equipment is permanent, but number of them is spendable. It's much easier to relate to this if you try to think of it like in a real world. Like let's say you have a jet fighter, so you have F-16, you purchase F-18, and
right.
You got you got both of them. But when you go to combat, you gotta attach new bombs every time. So it's the same thing here. So
that makes a lot more sense. That makes a lot more sense. All right, so we got all that. All right, let's go. And I haven't gotten obviously that far in the game. Do you have the option to get different ships as well, or are you always upgrading this individual ship?
There are 7 different ships.
Oh wow, okay. I just haven't seen them yet. That's fine.
Yeah, and every ship actually has a different fire rate. It has more powerful bullets, and it moves quicker.
Oh.
So, for example, this is like the basic ship.
Right.
And with this ship, you really have to get a new one as soon as you can, because
I'm working on it.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
I see a lot of potential for broad appeal here, because it's like,
yeah,
you get the people that like the classic old arcade games. The
oh yeah.
Like twin stick shooters like Geometry Wars. There's even a little bit of the roguelike thing going on, right? With the upgrades and that. So, yeah. I mean, I see a lot of different people that this would appeal to, definitely.
And people love these classic shooters.
Yeah, absolutely.
These are always
and especially like the bullet hell people, right? There's so many bullet hell games that are on Steam,
right?
And I'm not a big fan of those, right? Because it's like it's a lot of memorization,
yeah,
that goes on in those. But it's the thing of, in this game, if you let stuff get out of hand, a screen full of bullets that are flying around, and so you can get to that point. But it's a little bit memorization, but it seems like there's enough procedural to it where it's a bit random, right? So it's not like I have to be in a specific place, on each level to survive or whatever. It's a lot more freeform than that. So it basically doesn't lose me because of the bullet hellish thing.
Yeah, like some bullet hell shooters, and I love shmups, but some bullet hell shooters are just too intense. There's too much.
Completely intolerant of. Yeah, it's.
And I get that. I get that some people love that, and it is a challenge, and I get that. That's sure, but I don't want to have an anxiety attack because I can't dodge every bullet. So this seems to be well paced so far for the missions I've taken, which I really like.
There's more than one solution to each level, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like you must be in this spot.
Exactly, and Lost my gun.
Now,
Lost my
I haven't
gun.
fought the bosses yet.
Yeah, I haven't either.
I was just playing it last night, but so since we haven't seen it, tell us about the bosses in here, because I saw on the store page.
All right,
that
so
you've got like 30 different bosses.
Yeah, there are a couple of bosses here. They're still not in the final shape, so this is the major part, which is going to get an upgrade, or at least better visuals until the game goes to full release. There are a couple of things. So you have 3 types of bosses. You have a boss which circles around the screen and actually emits new enemies, and those enemies have a specific pattern. They actually they're not following, you know, the predefined path, but they have a different behavior, which is more like seek and destroy, you know. So they're actually following you, and they're trying to just, you know, get into you and destroy you. But these bosses, they have a huge amount of health points, so it's hardly that you can kill them. That's one. The other thing is there are bosses which have actually, when you start hitting them, they have health bar just right before your score points. So that's that part, that element. And then you have a third type of bosses where they actually change their configuration visually. They can transform to a different shape. That's actually going to be a big thing in the game.
So is that the kind of boss that you knock pieces off of?
Yeah, exactly. So
okay.
we call them like a cluster boss, because it consists of a number of clusters, little elements which you practically need to kill all of the elements and pieces to destroy the boss. A cool thing is, at least what we think, is that all these little pieces, we have a system that we can transform their position on the fly. So let's say that a boss has a configuration that looks like, you know, like a grid, square shaped of little pieces, and we can transform all these little pieces to form like a circle around him, and things like that. So a more dynamic behavior of bosses. That's what's gonna come in the final release.
Very nice. Now I noticed that some missions, some sectors are not accessible yet.
Yeah, that's because in the early access we have launched only 40 out of 60 missions that we have planned for the game in general.
Oh, okay.
That's simply because we really didn't get the time to get all of them.
No, that's totally fair. I was just asking
We
about
made
it.
them, and we figure out actually which 40 missions are going to be enough for the people to and the players to be able to play through the network of the station. So that was actually quite a comprehensive job to figure out what routes we really need to plan so that the game is still playable and you don't get stuck, you know, after third mission or something like that.
Right. Now, how do you buy new ships? How do you get a new ship?
You go to Upgrade Store, and if you have a ship there available for a purchase, you can purchase it. So not every station has the same items in the store. That's another thing.
That's what's throwing me. Okay, I should check the store at every station I go to.
Yeah, actually, at the point of the game to get a full grasp of all the elements is whenever you reach a new station, it would be a good idea to go and check the Upgrade Store and Trade Resources screen, because every station has a different resource which is, let's say on sale, on the best price there. And every station has a different configuration of the store, different items in the store.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it's really, we wanted to put the more accent here on this like role-playing thing. But if you really don't care, you can really just go on and just play your shooting missions. So this is let's say some kind of compromise that we wanted to make. Well, we didn't want to force people like, oh, when you come to the mission control screen, then you must go to upgrade or trade resources.
That's fair.
We just slapped an option here for a player to decide, okay, if I want to trade, I'm going to go and trade. If I want to upgrade, I'm upgrade. If not, I'm just going to, try my luck in the next arcade mission. That's all that I care.
Damn. I gotta say, this game is not the easiest, which I like. This is quite challenging. Damn it, I lost my gun. And even when I lost, I didn't feel like really frustrated or anything. Because you're gonna lose at these games every once in a while.
Yeah, but it's a game, unlike the arcade games of old, right, where it's just like play until you lose.
That's true.
It's actually, there's progression here, right?
Which I like. That's my favorite thing about games like this, is that there is actual progression. Oh my God. Okay. Holy Mother of Jesus. Okay. Whoa.
Yeah, you got a lot of stuff going on.
I do. Oh God.
So these missions, like where it looks, are you actually like the cargo ships are moving in the background and stuff? The enemies don't interact with that at all, right?
No.
Will there be a point where? Okay.
No. The whole point is of that cargo ship. It's like a leitmotif of the level. Like it's going somewhere there. It's deeper into space.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's like one idea that we had is, those cargo ships are going to get a little bit different visuals. We are still trying to figure out what's the best way to have the cargo ship on the screen and still not to confuse players, because what you mentioned is actually what the people said that they're confused by. Some players would just immediately start shooting at that ship.
Oh,
when it comes on the screen. So we're still trying to figure out what's the best idea, how to tell a player like this is your cargo ship or something like that. We still didn't find some decent way how to communicate that between the player and the game. But hopefully we're gonna get there.
Yeah.
Name it.
One thing, Brian, that you're not doing there. Maybe you're not aware, because he was talking about like the cargo ship being behind the thing.
Yeah.
Hit the space bar.
Okay. Well, I will next time I try and load the mission, because that was terrible.
Well, it's like whenever you're flying through bullets or enemies or whatever, if you hit the space bar, you actually duck down under all that stuff.
Really?
So, yep.
Oh.
Whoa. So it's like your get out of bullets free card.
Oh.
Yeah.
It only lasts.
That lets you cross a line of enemies without taking it in the face. So.
Oh, I like it. Oh.
Yeah. So that's what we call a space dive maneuver. So basically, you can hit the space exactly, and you can just pass just below the enemy line or something like that, and that allows you. So I'm gonna reveal you a little secret. So practically, with the basic ship, without any upgrade equipment, you can pass through the whole game. The game is designed that way, using this maneuver.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty great, actually.
It is, because for the players who are trying to build a skill, it's very helpful. And we also are looking also for a way, like one of the things that we like to do for a game is some kind of tutorial that's really not annoying.
Right.
Because that would help a lot. I know, I'm kind of a gamer who played the game since arcade machines and early 90s and all that, so I'm pretty much used on all the stuff and the games without tutorial. But we really, had the chance to talk with the players who were born at the time that I played games and the arcade machines. And these guys are, more about like, oh, where's the tutorial? Why I'm dying every 5 minutes? So we are trying also. We are also thinking about how to get there. There's also
or you could just say it. You could say no. It's Dark Souls in space. Suck it up.
Yeah, or something like that. So there's also one other thing in the game which is probably not the younger players are not familiar with that, and that is that actually when you start the game you can punch F1 like in any game that I think should have, and you get help about the controls and all that. So it's kind of like old school thing in games. we still have that.
Yeah. Speaking of old school, one thing that maybe it's an upgrade you can get, but a lot of these games that were like this, they had you'd get like 3 bombs, right, that could clear the screen. Like a smart bomb. You just like 1942 had it, Defender had it. Asteroids, you had hyperspace, right? That was like a special thing. I was just wondering if you're looking at any upgrades that would be like that, where you have like a limited use special ability.
I think there's a nuke, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly, and does exactly okay. and does exactly what you just described.
Oh, okay. And you get like X number of uses of that, a level or what?
I think it's like a one-use thing.
It's you can purchase them, but it's a one-use thing. So okay. Like if you purchase 5 of them, then you have 5 chances, to clear the whole screen with.
Oh, okay.
Yeesh. This is a pretty great game. Neat. Yeah, I dig it. Sorry.
Yeah, I can tell you've been playing the Warriors.
That game is great, by the way.
Thank you.
Oh, come here, gun. Come here. There you go.
So the shield that you have around the ship, does that regenerate over time, or is that just once it's gone, it's gone?
There are a couple of shields. There are 2 shields which are auto-regenerating. The other ones, they're not. So the one which is more expensive, that one actually auto-regenerates. But if you really spend it all the way through, then it gets destroyed. So it's pretty much like you need to save it a little bit, but then it's gonna help you a lot.
Yeah, these missions do get tougher. I will tell you that.
That's pretty neat. So what before this, what have you made? Are there other games of yours that we could go out and check out?
Well, I made particularly in my career around 100 games. But these are like this is our first game as a company, as our own indie game. We mostly did the casual games, so we are actual developer who made like over 20 hidden object games, which were released on Big Fish Games and stuff like that. That's one thing. Me personally, I like probably the most famous project that I used to work on was actually Serious Sam. If you ever heard about that game.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I love those games.
With Pro Team.
Yeah, I worked at the Crow Team, and I made the whole 3D physics engine for Serious Sam 2.
Whoa!
Oh, wow. I didn't know we had royalty on the show today.
Oh no, I love the Serious Sam games. Yeah. I love those. Those are fun.
The best thing about Serious Sam was the first time that I had the headless guys with the 2 bombs.
Oh god, you just hear that scream.
That was hilarious.
You just hear that scream coming for you.
Yeah, it's called Beheaded.
Yeah.
I love those guys.
It's just even today I can just hear that.
Yeah, it's kind of like trademark for Sam.
Yeah,
it really
it was. So how did that come about? The whole because that was a game that didn't take itself too seriously. It was really fun, and it was just like, how did that get decided? Like, okay, we're gonna make this, because I saw the engine demo at first. I remember you guys released something that was like a teapot in the engine and
and that stuff. Yeah, well, it's a long story, but anyway, I mean, the short story is at that time you really had a lack of first-person shooter comparing to the fact that the Duke Nukem was very popular, but at that time, it was like a couple of years after Duke Nukem, there was no new Doom game. So I think it just hit, the market at the perfect time. That's one thing, and it's actually at that time you started getting first 3D accelerators, graphic cards, which started, showing more capabilities of what games can do. So it's like a combination of factors which made it happen and be so popular.
Yeah, it was just surprising for a first-person shooter. We had never seen that much stuff on the screen before,
and it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it was just absolutely, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, visually, the whole artistic direction was that it has to go to the full overbright, with the colors and all that, because that's one thing. The other thing is you probably didn't see in other first-person shooter games up to that point that many wide open scenes.
No, it's true.
And
that's
to have
true,
so much elements on the screen. So yeah. I mean, like the guy who's handling the whole graphics engine is really, a genius. So.
Yeah, I remember the first time. I think the first game was in Egypt, and I remember the first time you got to run around those big open levels, which wasn't really a thing for first-person shooters back then. It was all corridors and tight spaces
and co-op.
You
couldn't play like Quake and stuff in co-op like that, and so that. I think that's like the first-person shooter that I remember that had full-on co-op all the way through it. Yeah, because we'd get like 4 people in there and just rampage through that game.
Oh, really?
I sucked at it. I couldn't get very far alone, but you get a party of people in there. Yeah, so I think that was in Serious Sam 1. It might have been 2 that introduced the co-op, but yeah, it was a damn good time. And mega huge bosses too.
I wasn't into multiplayer back then, so I probably missed the whole co-op thing.
Yeah, but I've brought you to the light.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah.
So, what do you think you would do next?
We
are you do another retro anything?
Kind of like we have something from the same world of Zotrix.
Oh.
It's actually in a high stage of prototype. It's a tower defense game.
Oh.
So this is the arcade game. So this other game is that all these enemies which are attacking you, they actually came close to your space stations. And it's gonna be a tower defense game which has. We are bringing a couple of new elements to tower defense genre that we think, and it's gonna be kind of a blend, or let's say if you have a slider between tower defense game and a real-time strategy game. So we're gonna use that slider and move it somewhere in between. So you're gonna have towers, but you also have like movable units that you can send to patrol and stuff like that. So and all kind of other things which are going to be, I think, a nice surprise elements in the gameplay for the game. The game's called Solar Division. We already kind of announced it a little bit throughout our groups in Steam, and we plan to launch it on early access in a couple of weeks.
Oh, wow. And it's the same universe as this game, you say?
Yeah, I mean, visually it's gonna look like the enemies is gonna be like, pixel art, retro and all this, but other elements, space station, all this is gonna maybe look a little bit more modern.
Right. And
I noticed you're keeping track of score up at the top of the screen, arcade style. Is there gonna be some sort of an online leaderboard where we can actually post a high score?
No. That's not even score. Those are your credits. That's
okay.
Yeah, those that's your reward basically up there.
Yeah.
So
we
did
did
score in general, just something that we could actually have a scoreboard online, maybe.
We were pondering on that. We absolutely don't see how that fits in a game.
There's really no score. It's
because the game doesn't revolve around the score. It revolves around your resources and what they provide you to for your next step. We can see score points in a separate game mode of the game. Where we had one idea that you have like a procedurally generated level, which is like endless as long as you survive.
Yeah, like a horde mode kind of thing.
Just
tougher and tougher waves. Yeah,
and that would be actually directly from the main menu. You wouldn't even go to any of the space stations or upgrade store. Like, you would just go to one screen where you would configure your ship, and off you go. And as long as you survive, that's it. So we are still, thinking about having something like that, and that's a good candidate, for the score. Then we would use the Steam leaderboards and things like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I think it would be neat that to have just a traditional arcade experience in here, because you've already developed everything that would surround it. So it shouldn't be too bad to just kind of also include that in. So, yeah, but that would be cool. I fully support that.
I gotta get better at this because I lost my shield, I lost my missiles, and I don't have enough to get that drone I want yet. So I'm just gonna keep shooting stuff until I get better at this. And that is kind of interesting. Like, it's not memorization as much as it is, skill of shooting and dodging, it seems. Which I'm terrible at. Absolutely awful. But that's not deterring me. No, sir. That is not deterring me in the slightest. You should name this cargo ship like the SSS Protect Me or something. That way it'd be very clear what you're supposed to do with it. There we go. Okay. Yeah. I love the retro sound effect. This game really does sound also like something I would hear in an arcade in the 80s. With the laser effects and the pew and the pew and the pew and the all that awesomeness. I love the retro, not just the look but the sound of it. And I don't have the music playing because I hate YouTube and don't want to ever play music on them again. But the music, folks, is really also very awesomely retro. I'm just not playing it right now because YouTube terrifies me. Come on. Come on. Oh, we're getting bigger enemies now. Oh, damn it. Someone rammed me. And I died. But I don't mind dying in this game. I don't mind it at all. So, I forgot to ask, when you die, do you get to keep the resources that you've collected up to that point?
No.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure because it looked like my resources had gone up a little bit, but maybe my credits, but maybe I'm just imagining things. Maybe.
If it does, then thanks for reporting the bug.
Damn it! Sorry, everyone. I just ruined it for you. You guys are gonna get all kinds of money, and I opened my big damn mouth. I'm like that kid Friday afternoon. Teacher, you haven't given us homework yet. Teacher, that's me. That was me just now. Sorry about that.
So the whole time that we've been looking at this game, I've been trying to remember. There was like an indie Galaga kind of game that this guy did. And I finally found it, right? So it was over at Loco Malito, LOCOMALITO.com, and it's called Verminest. and it's like Galaga, but he did it in is it analographic, the red and blue 3D? So you can actually put on 3D glasses and yeah. So, but anyway, that was the other thing that this game reminded me of was that, which is like a little freeware project that the dude did. But what was really interesting is they made a trailer for this freeware game where they actually built like a model of the moon and stuff and filmed it with a camera, and it's really super cool. But anyway, yeah, that dude makes a lot of really interesting retro-y stuff too.
You have to send me that link later.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Once I'm done dying here. Oh god.
Both of you, because I think that's.
God. Oh damn it. Sorry.
I think that's something that you'd both enjoy.
Oh yeah, no, I love. That's the beauty, I think, of all this indie stuff, is that we get to have all this like stuff remind us of our childhood. You know,
well,
all these.
It's a gameplay style that games have become a lot more story based and a lot less skill based. Right.
Yeah.
And because people just want to see the story.
Right.
And get through it.
But back in the day, games that was all it was skill. That's all it was.
Absolutely.
And the story was in your head.
Can I last 5 minutes or 10 minutes?
Yeah. How much can I get out of this quarter? Yeah. The story was in your head. Like maybe there'd be an interstitial here and there, like, oh, you have to stop the Zartron Raiders from destroying your station. Well,
I think it was a lot to do with Star Wars as well, right? Because it was all that era, like just all that magic came together at that moment, right? In the late
yeah.
So
totally. I mean that's how you actually really got the rise of the arcade machines much more in 80s, especially just after the first Star Wars movies.
Oh yeah, remember that vector graphic Star Wars game in the arcade with the twin stick thing?
Right. The problem with that game was, I think that when they finally
Jim. There's no problem with that game. Oh. That game is perfection. Personified.
That okay, because we didn't need the other space games then, because we had Star Wars. That was it. But, it was like we were playing Galaga, but we think of Star Wars, and now, well, shit, there's Star Wars.
Why would I play Galaga? See, you say Galaga, and I say Galaga.
Well, whichever.
I just think it's funny. I just think it's funny that we have
potato.
Yeah. I know. I just think it's funny. Vedran, how do you say it?
That's because English is a terrible language.
It is a terrible language.
You can say anything anyway, but
we would usually say Galaga.
Oh.
But that's also because of the accent that we use in our language. So it doesn't have anything to do with English pronunciation.
Oh. Well, I'm outvoted on this podcast as to how to say Galaga.
So
Galaga.
Pardon my ignorance, but in Croatia, do you speak Croatian? Or
is
it
exactly.
some other...
No, you got it right.
So is it like a Slavic derivative? Or
yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's like I got a buddy that's from Bulgaria, and just people that I know from around Moldova and there. But it just seems like every country has its own language, but it all kind of roots back to the Slavic stuff.
And actually, the languages are not that similar. So, for example, the guys from Bulgaria, I wouldn't understand the crap, like whatsoever. Like honestly. It's like there are only a couple of countries here in the Balkans area that we actually can understand each other, but like for example Russian, like no way. I know Bulgarian, no way.
Well, Russian is its own nightmare.
Yeah.
I tried learning a little bit of Russian once. That was a horrible idea. Because that language is crazy. Ow!
The big problem is when you have languages that sound similar and that they have like a similar roots for the words.
Yeah.
Is that you actually have exactly the same words and you pronounce them, but they have a completely different meaning. And that's extremely confusing for us. That's why when we even hear that other language, you don't even try to understand, because you may really very easily figure out something very wrong. and it's like rather, so that's one of the things that you really don't want to do.
Yeah.
So
I would think if you spoke a variety of different languages from the region, it'd be hard if somebody started talking. You have to figure out what they're talking first, right? And to keep straight in your head like the different things that the same word means. Yeah, that would make a pretty tough diplomatic situation. So.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta wrap this up soon, guys. I gotta get to work. But I wanted to try this mission one last time, and I failed again. That's okay. I'll get better. But yeah, I hate to put a hammer down on this, but I do have to go. I need coffee so fucking badly right now. Oh my god, I'm dying. So, Vedran, I want to thank you for stopping by in the middle of your afternoon to talk about your game. This is a pretty cool game. I hope we get to help people learn more about it. And what's the name of your other game that's coming out in a few weeks?
Solar Division.
I gotta write that down.
And I definitely appreciate the insight into the Steam stuff, because it's
that was fascinating.
My project, we're past Greenlight. We did it the hard way because we didn't know to get in there and do that. But it's, I've been poking around in the Steam forums while we're talking here, and just seeing the communities that are attached to the games and stuff. Because the traditional thing, and we had Klifsky on here from Positech, and one of the profound statements that Klifsky made, because he does the traditional model of PR, is you're going to have to hire a PR agency and expect to pay as much to the PR agency as you did to develop the game. And I about fell out of the chair. It was just like, oh my god, indies don't have that much money. We just barely have enough to make the game. So you're telling me I have to pay somebody else for their connections to get in the press? But now we find that the press is ineffective anyway.
Okay.
So you just threw that money down a hole, right? So that's of great value, I would say, to all the indie devs out there, is just don't do that.
I mean, that should just be one vertical of your marketing plan, and not the only. It sounds like.
Exactly.
But the thing is, though, if the PR guy only has a very limited reach, you're paying real money to them to do a tenth.
Well, I'm not talking about just the PR guy. I'm talking about reaching out to blogs and reaching out to magazines and stuff like that. It sounds like that's just one. Like, that used to be the only way, and now it's just one of many ways. And it sounds like in some instances, Steam, going directly through Steam, is a lot better, which is fascinating.
Right, and it also means you better be a nice guy online, and people need to like you, because if you're just a troublemaker, then you're not going to do very well socially.
That's true of life in general. You should always.
When you look at it, that essentially is the point of, because practically what you're doing with your game is you're servicing other players. So you're turning your product into service. Which actually is, when you look at it, you need to continually update your game, even during the early access, even after. We have a whole plan after the full release for the whole set of at least 5 or 6 updates plus at least 2 DLCs.
Oh, good,
good. Because that's the way how you really keep the fire going on around your game and try to build a community around it.
Right.
And you really can't do that if you behave like an asshole. So that just doesn't come together.
Yeah, you don't want to pull you don't want to pull a space-based DF9.
Yeah. Well, the success of your second game depends heavily on the after-release support of the first game, because people want to see a solid track record, that you're not going to say, here it is, and then jump to the next game and abandon that, right? Because it's like an added value. The game keeps,
much as here's the thing, here's a prime example of that. As much as I'm enjoying Star Drive 2, for example, and how good a game it is, there's still so much negativity surrounding the abandonment of Star Drive 1 that people don't even want to touch Star Drive 2, despite that it's a good game.
Right.
And it's really hard getting over that. So if you're a nice guy,
I feel for him on.
I do. I totally feel for him.
I haven't had him on and talked to him, and
but I also
nice guy and everything.
I also get the anger
into the limits of the engine. So what could he do?
Right, but at the same time, I don't think he explained this well enough to people.
Yeah,
that people understood, because people still don't understand. And it took me a while to understand. And if I was just a regular consumer who didn't have this kind of knowledge, I'd still be angry. I'd be like, screw that guy. I'm still seeing that online. I'm still seeing screw that guy. But you're absolutely right. If you have good post-release support, like here's the counter example. Steven Peeler over at Soldat Games, Drox Operative and shit like that. They have tons of patches, expansions, you name it, and people love his games.
Mm.
But
here's the problem though, is in a traditional model, you're going to do, and even in Steam, right? When you release your game's on the front page, you get a giant spike of sales, and then it tapers off really quick. And then it's just a trickle of sales after that, unless you put it on 50% off sale or whatever, you'll get another big spike.
Right.
But you have to sustain development on that thing for a long time, even though your sales were done in the first 2 weeks, right? You have to continue to support this thing at your expense, and then when the second game comes out, they say, what a nice guy. But if you stop the support when the money stops, you're dead. So that's a thing that kind of gets in the business part of that is like, just because it's no longer profitable to write patches doesn't mean we can stop.
Right. Exactly. So. It's a cutthroat world out there.
Well, but it's just a weird business, and it's getting weirder because of the digital distribution and the social aspect, because the traditional shit just does not apply anymore.
It's a transitional period. I mean, Greenlight and all this stuff. It's a transitional period. It'll eventually settle out, and we'll all figure it out. But right now, it's very confusing, and I can only imagine how frustrating it is as a developer to see those spikes and those dips, and to learn that, hey, talking to PC Gamer really doesn't matter that much. Whereas 10, 20 years ago.
Well, the other interesting thing is that as the developer, you can directly manipulate the market now, because you can go in there and say, hey, my game's $10 off today. And do that. And you can't do that in a retail thing,
right? Because
you would just wholesale it to Walmart, and then what they do with it is on them. Right. So it's very interesting. It's empowering to the developer,
which I love. Which I do love. I mean, Steam does have a huge hold, and it's a big gatekeeper. But at the same time, I don't think developers have ever had this much power and control over their distribution.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
So thank you for giving us. Yeah. So thank you for giving us some insight on that, Vedran. That was really fascinating, and I want to thank you again for taking the time to talk to us. This is a really fun game, folks. Zotrix. It's on Steam for. It won't break your bank. I'm not looking right now. How much is it on Steam?
$9.99.
Yeah. Oh, there's 40 missions here. I've only done like 4, maybe 3. And that's almost an hour of gameplay right there, because I fail a lot. But that's the nature of these games too, is you're gonna fail a lot. But this is a really fun game, folks, and you should definitely check it out. Vedran, thank you for joining us as always, and I think Hunter will be back next week, Gene. Am I remembering correctly? I think Hunter will be back next week, so we'll be back to the trifecta of awesome that we have recently created. So, folks, thank you for listening and watching, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye.